Happy Wednesday, everyone. I will be your host for today, and allow me to ask Genesis first to can you tag at least everyone for them to be aware that we are about to start. Okay, we are already 50, so we can now start with the regular live market analysis podcast. Today, I will be giving you an update of the Elliott Wave counts of gold and BTC. But before anything else, of course, I'd like to start with a recall of my previous analysis. So let me use AI to help me summarize um, the previous analysis I have shared in this platform. As early as August 20, I was I forecasted that the market will already do the reversal from a breakout of the possible triangle structure, Elliott Wave's triangle structure, with, which will usually occur in wave 4. After that, I I did an update of September 3, and I forecasted, as you can see on the thumbnail, I forecasted that it will create 5 waves up. After that, I forecasted a conservative 5 waves up, but the market gave us an extended 5 waves up, which r- reached the 4,000 level around 4,381 level. And then uh, on October 22, I forecasted that the correction was about to start based on the Elliott wave structure that I have identified. Now, to show to you the summary using AI, all you have to do is use in my case, I'll be using Copilot, and all you have to do is go to that video, allow the Copilot to summarize it for you. Here, although you can't see this, perhaps I will just take a screenshot of this one and send this to the chat. You will see an icon like a note with stars like that I have sent in the chat. All you have to do is click that um, icon, and then the Copilot AI will be the one to summarize the video for you. It will take around less than a minute for the summary to be auto-generated. The summary here will be based on the subtitles that can be found on that video. Now here's a quick preview of the previous analysis last October 22. Okay, I have forecasted that the gold will hit 4,000 mark before it happened, and then my target initially was just 4,181, but the market gave us 4,132. Then after that, I've mentioned the rules of Elliott wave theory, and then I've mentioned these corrective structures, zigzag, double zigzag, and the expanded flat, which is actually the current corrective structure for the gold. And I will explain it later. I'll do a quick explanation of that later. Then after that, I even mention about how to use Confluence like statistical SMT and use only SMTs that are greater than or equal to zero point 0.8. And then after that, I even mentioned that the Bitcoin is doing the same expanded flat scenario. So if you have been following me in my live market analysis here, you should not be surprised why Bitcoin uh, went down to the CME gaps. And these CME gaps were already identified uh, half, 1.5 month ago. Then after that, um, last October, or rather, that was October 22. Then I did another podcast last November 6, and allow me to generate again, um, the summary using Copilot AI. The summary is pretty accurate, but sometimes if your pronunciation is not that good, the Copilot AI will try to use words that are not the exact words that you have spoken. But the the summary in total is around 95 to 100% accurate. From here, I mentioned about the gold similarity and Bitcoin similarity in terms of the Elliott Wave structure. I even mentioned here that if we will try to look at the what they call this, the subtitle, I have mentioned here that I am not even I will not be surprised if the gold will do a reversal after that day, after my November 6th podcast hosting. And then I even mentioned here that in my Bitcoin analysis, a final drop for toward 96 to 97, or worst case scenario will be 91 to 93. Uh, Back then, the price was still above 100,000 to 105 or 110. And then I even mentioned that I always give emphasis on the words when to trade and where to trade. Fundamentals is when to trade. Technicals will be the where to trade. So with that, allow me to update the counts of gold and Bitcoin live. So by the way, if you are interested to watch the previous videos of my podcast hosting here, you can just check my YouTube channel, and then all my podcast hosting and some live analysis that I have done were all uploaded here for the purpose of educational content. For some, they may be bored uh, watching this simply because the my Blue Guardian live market session is good for 1 hour. So if you're not smart enough, especially if you don't use AI to summarize the video, perhaps watching all of this analysis will make you stop in the beginning or the middle of watching it. So going back to the main uh, topic for this podcast is what's the current situation of gold and Bitcoin in terms of Elliott Wave analysis. So allow me to show show you the current uh, wave counts of gold. Let me just hide the watermark. Okay. So as you can see, the August 20 reversal, which I hosted, happened beautifully, and then it created 5 waves up. So this is daily time frame. So the smaller waves here are not visible enough. So allow me to change it from daily time frame to 4 hour time frame. I'll answer that question later. What's the name? Rexy. After the gold analysis. But just like what I have mentioned a while ago, the CME gaps that were not filled before it happened were the 96 to 97 levels, and then the worst case scenario will be 91 to 93. And all those CME gaps were already taken. But we will focus on that later because I'd like to share, or I'd like to update first the market structure in terms of Elliott Wave theory before we proceed to the 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 possible liquidity zones. Okay, so going back to the analysis, so from here to here, we need to count. It's either I'll label this. I've mentioned this already. It's either I label this as an entire triangle or a WXY correction where Y is a triangle. Both are valid um, valid counts. It all depends on what will happen here. Which of the two will be the most appropriate uh, wave structure. Now, from here to here, let's now look at the counts using the 4 hour time frame. So if we will try to use the 4 hour time frame, the entire uptrend already completed its 5 waves. Allow me just to show you the higher time frame counts instead of showing um, the entire internal waves. So this is a case of extended fifth wave. Why extended fifth wave? Because originally the internal waves should be completed at this particular price. However, in Elliott wave theory, once the 5 waves are already completed, even the internal waves, like for this example, the internal waves are already completed. So what is expected after the internal waves are completed for the fifth wave was a correction because we already have the wave 1, the wave 2, 3, 4, and 5. Usually a correction is a zigzag correction from the peak of fifth wave and then at least 3 waves like this. However, the correction did not happen after the completion of the fifth wave here. And in that case, this is called a fifth wave extension. Why fifth wave extension? Simply because after the fifth wave, there was no market structure shift that happened. The the correction was not confirmed when wave 5 respected the wave 4 level. So in this case, if the wave 4 was broken or an MSS or market structure shift happened or a break of structure happened here, then perhaps after breaking this, I will find an entry in the after the bounce, considering this high as my SL. But in this particular case, there was no break of structure that happened. So if there's no break of structure or market structure shift that happen, then an extension will happen. And when we say extension, meaning this fifth wave originally should be terminated here, but since it did not do any MSS or BOS, then therefore this fifth wave will now be extended. And when I say extended, there should be additional 5 waves up. The additional 5 waves up will be labeled like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 3, 4, 5. Actually, this is an extension of another extension. If we will consider this as wave one, allow me to illustrate to you the what we call the trend-based fib time projection. Not fib time, but the extension. I mean, the trend-based fib extension. So if I'm going to project this, the original or the conservative impulsive wave tree is usually at 1.618, 1.414 to 1.618. However, in this case, it's clear that the price after this became parabolic. It even reached it breaks the 1.22, 1.618, I mean, the 2.618, the 3.618, even the 4.618, we even reached the 5.618, 5.618, and even the 7, I think this is around 7.618. So this is a super extended fifth wave that happened in gold. Of course, this is backed up by fundamentals, which I will not focus because this is more on the technical live market analysis. So from here, wave 5 is already terminated from an extension. The fifth wave was extended here, and the internal waves of third wave was also extended. So it's a double extension that happened. That's why we reached the 4,381 mark. From here, I have mentioned, just like what I've mentioned in the the recall, that this I treated this as an expanded flood scenario. When we say expanded flood scenario, I'm referring to I'm referring to this type of scenario or structure. I mean, so expanded flat. Allow me to plot this first. Okay, so this is an example of an expanded flat scenario. So what is an expanded flat scenario? As I have mentioned in my previous analysis that or my previous hosting that an expanded scenario may happen once we break the high of the fifth wave in the ABC correction or in the uh, zigzag correction. So in this particular case, by the way, the fifth wave here can be placed here as a truncated fifth wave. Okay, going back, uh, when will or here let's just go back to the original. Me to put this back again first. So, what is a what is an expanded flat scenario? So, in an expanded flat scenario, it is labeled as an ABC, but the structure is not the usual 3 waves down, 3 waves up, and 3 waves down. It is when we say expanded, the difference between these two uh, basic ABCs or two types of corrector is that in the regular zigzag, A is composed of 5 internal waves. B is composed of 3 internal waves, at least 3 internal waves. And then C is composed of 5 internal waves, like this one. However, in expanded flat, the counting will be different. The structure of counting will be different. So in an expanded flat, first is that wave B retraces beyond the territory of the previous peak of the higher degree. In this case, it's the fifth wave. And then it went down like this. In terms of wave counting structure, an expanded flat is different from a zigzag. So allow me to label this as zigzag, and this one as an expanded flat. So what's the difference between the two? Zigzag is using a 5-3-5 wave counting structure, while the expanded flat uses the 3-3-5 wave counting structure. So since the wave counting structure is 3-3-5, therefore for wave A, instead of originally 5 waves down, for wave A it becomes 3 waves down for wave A, then for wave B 3 waves up, while for wave C it's a 5 waves down. That's the difference between the two, an expanded flat correction and a zigzag correction. And as you can see, if we will try to look at the price action of gold, it's obvious that there was a sweep of the previous high. In ICT term, this could be a, a good CRT model, or a snipe CRT entry, or a turtle soup, or even if you want QML, this is a very good um, QML entry or Quasimodo entry. Okay, so um, continue to show you the wave counting uh, that of an expanded flat. We start with ABC counting for the wave A. So the ABC would be this one. This will be the A, then the B, and then the C. So we have satisfied the first wave counting of an expanded flat. And another ABC here. We have here an A, then we have here B, and then we have the C. So we have satisfied the two wave counting structure already. The 3-3, the ABC 3, ABC 3, and then 5. So let me complete that 5. We will go to that whether we will identify whether it's impulsive or corrective. Um, then after that, we need to complete the 5 internal waves, and that's the reason why I mentioned in my November 6 podcast posting that I will not be surprised. Let me just show you the what I mentioned in this particular. But basically, what I've said, I forgot to take note of the time. But basically, what I've mentioned here is that since the internal waves are already completed here, then I am not surprised if the price of gold will create a new all-time high price. But of course, since it was this uh, uh, live market analysis was done last November 6th, we will now check whether it is still true in terms of the current Elliott wave counts. Now, to show you the internal waves of this expanded flat, the wave 1 can be placed here. If we will go to the lower time frame, you will see clearly that there is 5 internal waves for wave 1. This will be my wave 3, this will be my wave 4, and this will be my wave 5. One reason why I consider this as wave 4 simply because in Elliott wave theory, in Elliott wave theory, excuse me for a while. In Elliott wave theory, triangle will usually happen in the wave 4, and this is clear. This is a clear triangle here that I cannot ignore. So if I will label this as a triangle like this one, then therefore this is the final actionary in when we say final actionary wave, meaning after the completion of the triangle structure, the next wave will be the final actionary, or it's like a warning that the trend is about to be terminated. And that's what made me become confident that in my previous podcast hosting, I already saw a possible reversal after this price action. Now, since the structure of an expanded flat is already satisfied, wave B must sweep the previous high, first condition, second condition, or the next criteria would be 335 wave counting. We have three, another three, and then I have shown you another 5 waves down here. That means that the expanded flat correction is already completed. Now, what's next? Let me just move this a little. Now, what's next? I am an electrician who always check the internal waves of the possible reversal. And in this case, there's no way that you can count this in a valid with a valid internal waves of a wave 1. I've seen some electricians in Facebook or in other YouTube. I've noticed that they counted this as wave 1, but definitely this cannot be counted as wave 1. First, we know that there are 3 cardinal rules of Elliott wave theory. If I'm going to count this as 5 waves up, then this would be my wave 3, my wave 4, and this will be my wave 5. This can't be wave 5 simply because the internal waves are not completed. Meaning, in every wave, if we will try to look at the lower time frame here, in every wave, the internal wave should be composed of 5 internal waves for wave 1, for wave 3, and for wave 5. Wherein wave 3 cannot be the shortest, although it will satisfy that. But in terms of Elliott wave counts for the 5th wave, upon checking the internal waves of in the lower time frame, 1 minute to be specific, you will not see a clear 5 waves up. It's just an 1, 2, 3 waves up, which made me think that perhaps I need to consider a different type of correction. From an expanded flat, I changed my corrective structure into a WXY correction. Allow me to illustrate it first for you to be able to understand. Okay, so allow me to uh, cite. Okay, allow me to cite this combination correction from the Elliott Wave International for you to have a clear idea or visual of what I'm about to uh, to to plot. It's called a combination or a WXY correction, wherein we have a flat here, we have a flat, we have a zigzag, and then we have another zigzag. And as you can see, I've explained already that we have a flat here, and then I'll show you a zigzag, an ABC here. So this would be my possible ABC. Actually, this should be labeled as WXY, but the idea is still the same. It should be at least three waves for the internal waves of the wave X, A, B, C here. And then after that, next would be, sorry, I forgot, uh, it's not zigzag. I'm referring to this triangle. A flat, expanded flat, a zigzag, and then a triangle. So we have here an expanded flat, a zigzag, and here's the triangle. A, B, C, D, and then we have here the E. So the type of correction from originally as a simple expanded flat only, I converted it into a different wave structure, which is what we call a combination. And this is labeled as W after the flat. I've explained already the flat, and this will be the X for the zigzag, and then for the zigzag, and the A, B, C, D, E for the triangle. So WX, and then we have here the Y. So therefore, we have completed this particular corrective structure, combination corrective structure of a flat, of a flat, a zigzag, and a triangle. So after the wave P here, I will start counting 5 waves up to confirm why the market went down from this top or from this peak. So I will start counting from here, and the counting would be, this will be my wave 1. Internal waves of wave 2 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, and then 5. So this will be the third wave, the fourth wave, zigzag, and then the fifth wave. So these 5 waves must be composed of 5 internal waves. And it's clear here that we have wave 1 composed of 3 internal waves, or 5 internal waves, I mean, sorry. 5 internal waves. And then we also have the 5 internal waves of wave 3, wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have satisfied the rule that wave 3 must not be diagonal in this particular case because wave 4 did not retrace beyond the territory of wave 1. And then it's clear that wave 4 to 5 has completed the 5 internal waves as well. Since the 5 internal waves are all completed, and actually this is an ending diagonal, that's why we experience a throwover after. In Elliott wave theory, once the 5 internal waves are already completed, then a correction will happen next. And in this case, what is the type of correction is this one? It's a correction that is composed of 2 sets of ABCs. First ABC, and then we have another ABC here. Wherein the next wave B or the wave B can be a possible triangle. So we can put it here as the termination, and we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves for wave C. So therefore, since we have two sets of ABC, this type of correction is called or is labeled as WXY. This WXY is different from this because this one is a combination of a flat, zigzag, and a triangle, while here it's a double zigzag. It's two sets of ABCs. So therefore, since we have completed the WXY internal waves, we saw a bounce up from here. And now the question that was asked a while ago by Rexy is the current uptrend an impulsive or part of the corrective? The answer is the price action or this level of this particular price action is still within the corrective levels. Now, when I say corrective levels, if I will treat this as my wave 2, then it is expected, let me just change into 4-hour time frame, it is expected that wave 4 will retrace to the following ideal levels. So when I say ideal levels for wave 4, the ideal levels for wave 4 are the following. We have the 236, the 382, and the zero point 0.5. And as you can see, 236 was already taken. We have the 382 and then zero point 0.5. And if you will try to look at it, the market retraces between 0.382 to zero point 0.5, which means that we are still on the corrective pace. So we are still on the corrective pace. Why? Why on the corrective pace? Because there's a possibility, since that this is can be considered as, if I will treat this as wave 1, 2, and then 3 here, and then 4 here, then therefore there's a possibility that we can have another triangle here. Because triangle can only happen in wave 4 as a whole. Going back to the triangle, I am referring to this one. As of now, we only have the wave A, or the wave A of a triangle, because we have here a clear wave 1, a wave A, B, C. So that means, let me just copy this first. Okay, going back. As you can see here, if this is wave 4, then triangle can be the structure before before the last wave up, which is another all-time high price. So in other words, we have the ABC as of now, or the first three waves, or the ABC, which is the expanded flat here. So it's either we can have a contracting triangle, meaning the upper line is declining, while the lower line, trend line, is rising. It can also be a barrier. So for example, if this will retrace for a possible wave 2 and then complete its internal wave, 5 waves up, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, without breaking this high, then therefore we have satisfied the internal waves of the wave B. As you can see here, the wave A must be composed of 3 waves. The wave B must be composed of 3 waves as well. So what will be the three waves for this wave B? This will be the three waves from here. This will be labeled as wave 1 or wave A, wave B, then we have wave C. So therefore, to answer the question a while ago, we are still on the impulsive movement of the wave B. Therefore, I'm still expecting a possible uptrend. If ever this will not create a new high, then the type of triangle that will happen is a contracting triangle like this one, where the upper line is declining and the lower line is rising like this one. So if it is contracting triangle, then therefore the internal waves of this A, B, C, D, E should I mean should be completed within this trend lines resistance and trend line support. But as of now, we cannot say that this is already a confirmed triangle. So there's still a possibility that instead of just having a wave A here, there's a possibility that we may see, if ever it will break this high here, it will no longer be called barrier because the barrier triangle should respect the horizontal resistance. So if we break this, of course, that's a continuation of the uptrend, which means that this will be the possible wave one. This will be the possible wave one, wave two, three, four, and then for another new all-time high price. So once we break, the crucial part here is whether we break this trend line support. If we break this trend line support, then we may consider a different corrective structure. But as of now, the invalidation of the bullish scenario would be at this particular price. This will be the invalidation of the bullish scenario, the start or the origin of the 5 waves up, which is at this particular price. As long as the price of gold respects this bullish last line of defense, we just change this into black. As long as the price respects this level, then we may see a new all-time high soon. However, if this price gets broken, then that's the only time that I will consider a different corrective structure. Because by theory, wave 4 can go as low as or close to the high of the possible wave 1. If we will try to consider this as wave 1, 2, 3, and 4, then therefore the invalidation is still way far from the price territory of the possible wave 1, which is at 3,409. So short term, we are going for a possible wave B or wave 2 retracement. So when I say wave B or wave 2 retracement, I may treat this as 1, 2. If we break this, 3, 4, 5, that would be the counting. But if ever we respect this trend line's resistance, then my counting would be A. This would be labeled as A. I will label this as B, and then I will label this as C. So impulsive only once we break the trend line resistance. And if the trend line resistance is respected, I will label this as an ABC, and that's the only time that I will consider a possible triangle. We need confirmation first before we project a structure based on the Elliott wave counts. So what will be, if this is my bullish last line of defense, my first line of defense for the bullish scenario would be this one. So the price should not break this, or it may trigger a continuation of the downtrend. So allow me to label this as bullish first line of defense. So with that in mind, you are guided by the uh, bullish defenses, the first line and the last line of defense. For the bearish scenario, obviously, the high or the new all-time high price will be the invalidation of the bearish scenario. And there's another the first line of defense would be the trend line connecting the all-time high price to this price here. So if we don't break this trend line support, or even if we break it a little, as long as it is not impulsively broken, then we may consider this as a possible triangle. However, if the price breaks this trend line resistance impulsively like this one, then we may see a new all-time high price. So, of course, this wave C or this wave D will only happen if and only if this retracement will not break the first line of defense. Okay? So before I will proceed with the Bitcoin, allow me to check some questions first so I can answer. Okay. I don't think there's much of a question, but it's more of a discussion among the trader audience. Okay, that's good. Great explanation, sir, but I need to see again. Don't worry, this will be uploaded in my YouTube account, so therefore YouTube channel, then therefore you can just simply check the part that you missed. Okay, there's another question from Kimura, but this triangle can still become an expanding triangle. As long as it satisfies the internal wave counting, like for example, for a triangle, it is labeled as A, B, C, D, E. And each letter of this A, B, C, D, E must be composed of at least 3 waves each. Must have 3 waves each. So therefore, if we have satisfied those conditions for a triangle, it's either a triangle, contracting triangle, a barrier, or an expanding triangle, then it will still be a valid triangle. But as of now, there's no confirmation yet that the corrective structure, final corrective structure is a triangle. Okay? So again, the bullish scenario, whether it's an ABC or a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, will all depend on this. Will all depend on the what do you call this? A successful wave 2 or wave B. Now this time, I still have enough time to explain to you the Bitcoin. Okay, in my previous analysis, I have mentioned that the corrective structure of Bitcoin is the corrective structure of Bitcoin is an expanded flat. Allow me to show you the expanded flat correction part only. So this is the previous high. It was swept here, but the internal waves is not 5 waves up, which made me uh, convinced that this is an expanded flat correction. So we will label this as an ABC, similar to what I have mentioned. Uh, the internal waves must be 335. So this will be the first 3 waves, another 3 waves here, 1, 2, 3. And then this must be 5 waves down. The only uh, ambiguity that I have, or the only conflict that I can see here is if I will try to compare the charts of Bitcoin in TVC and in crypto. Let me illustrate it to you. What is this time frame? 4 hours time frame. Allow me to split my chart. Split. And then this one. 4 hour time frame reset. Where I am time frame reset. I'd like you to look at this part of the correction or the part of the price action uh, for H. For H as well. Okay, if we will try to look at this part, I'm referring to this one pala. Sorry, this one. I'm referring to this part. Not the TBC, but crypto. Go BTC, I mean, not gold. BTC crypto and look, I want you to look at this part of the price action. If you will try to look at it, this one, this and this, it's like I'm asking you to spot the difference. So if you will try to spot the difference, you will notice that the difference in terms of the price action is different here, which is crucial in Elliott Wave theory. In Elliott Wave theory, this is crucial because wave counting may be different from this. As you can see here, using the index TVC, we have completed the 5 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be labeled as wave 1. Here, if I will use crypto, this is still at wave 3. This can be considered as wave 5, or wave 4, and then this could be considered as fifth wave. But here, in the index TVC, it will be counted differently. So since I have been using the index in all of my BTC analysis, allow me to stick with this one and disregard this for now. Anyway, the internal waves will be the same for this particular price action. So going back here uh, for the crypto, for the BTC under the TBC, we already have completed the 5 waves for the first wave. We have wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Where are we now in terms of Elliott wave counts for Bitcoin? We are still here. This will be wave 1, 2. This is a nested. This is a nested wave 3. I'll explain it later. And then we have here 1, 2. This is just 3, 4, and then 5. So there's still more of the downside compared to the compared to the upside. Okay. Originally, my target, as mentioned in the video or in the summarize a while ago, is at 91,000 to 93,000. However, even though the CME gaps were filled successfully, fully filled, I mean, there are rules that needs to be satisfied in Elliott Wave theory. If I will count this as, allow me to erase this first. If I will count this as wave 1, 2, and then I will consider this as wave 3, and then 4, and then wave 5, I am violating a rule in Elliott Wave theory. And what do you think is that rule? Let's involve the audience and let's see if you can see what violation, if I would consider discounting, what violation was uh, was not satisfied in this particular 5 waves. Okay, very good. We have two answers. Kimura said, looks like wave 3 is the smaller. Same with Wilbur's answer. Wave 3 is the shortest. According to Mel, wave 3 is the shortest. And to prove that wave 3 is the shortest, let's measure it using this price range. So wave 1's price, wave 1's length is 17.12%. Wave 2's length is 15%. And if we will consider this as fifth wave, then the length of the fifth wave is 16%. And there are three cardinal rules of Elliott wave theory. First cardinal rule, wave 2 must not, sorry, wave 2 must not retrace beyond the territory of wave 1. So we have satisfied that because wave 2 is just around here. Second cardinal rule of Elliott wave theory, wave 3 must not be the shortest. And it's clear. After measuring the lengths of wave 1, 3, and 5, it's clear that wave 3 is the shortest. Wave 1 is 17.12. Wave 5, as of now, is 16.94%. And wave 3 is just 15%. If only, this is just an if scenario, if only the market only took the CME gap at 91,660, then I would probably declare here that the Bitcoin is about to do a reversal. However, since the rules were not satisfied for a motive wave, then therefore we see more downside, and that downside will look like this one. So the downside will be like this. We have completed the internal waves of the wave 1. This is the wave 2. Wave 3 is still ongoing. Then we have here the wave 4. And then we have here the wave 5. So therefore, there's more of the downtrend for BTC, and um, it will probably test the. Let me just check this first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I forgot that I treated this as a nested 1, 2. So 3, 4, and then 5, then the 3 here, the 4 here, and then the 5 here. So the next level of support in Elliott wave theory would be at this particular price. This will be the next level. This will be the the trigger for a higher degree correction. Once we break the 74,441.20 low. And to give you an idea why this level is important, even micro strategies, uh, Bitcoin, uh, Bitcoin's spot or averaging is at, uh, let me use the other one, micro strategy. Even micro strategies, DCA or dollar cost averaging is the average cost is 74,433, and the Elliott Wave uh, support is at 74,441. So if ever this will be broken, then the MicroStrategy's um, holdings will be negative in terms of their uh, dollar cost averaging. So as of now, as to the Elliott Wave counts of Bitcoin, I am still bearish, and I'm still waiting for the internal waves of this to be completed. We are not yet completed in terms of the internal waves of the encircled wave 2 to 3. So we have to complete that before we see the final wave, which is the encircled wave 5, testing this bullish invalidation in Elliott wave theory. So that will be all. I hope you have learned something, and I hope you have a directional bias in terms of Elliott wave theory. Now, may I call on Genesis to give me the numbers for the giveaway? I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Eric, our Chief Operating Officer. You're always welcome, Eric. Okay, 5 random within 66. So allow me to use a random number generator. For the information of everyone, before I asked Genesis, Genesis already took a screenshot of the audience. So that means that screenshot will be the basis for your numbering in the audience. 1 to 66. So the first number will be 9. Next number will be 17. Third number B will be 24. Fourth number is 1. And the fifth number is 56. Thank you, or I mean, welcome, Wilbur and the rest. Thank you, Mark 1590. I'm not sure, but I think you are one of the many who are always present in my podcast session. I think if there's someone who will be given a perfect attendance award, I think that would be Mark 1590. Whether it's me or Eric, you're always present. Thank you for. I'd like to. I'd like to acknowledge that. You're welcome, Ian FX and Dresho, Akras. Thank you for appreciating it, Kimura. I'm glad you're learning from us, Mark. You're welcome as well, Prashant, Repton. We're waiting for the winners to be announced. Please don't forget to check the discount channel. We have a current discount, which is the Black Friday 40% off. All accounts, two-step, and the IFS are 30% off. So just check the discount channels. For new traders, we have a limited time discount, which is 50% discount. Make sure to check the restricted countries because not all countries are are allowed to take Blue Guardian accounts, of course, because of some regulations from different countries. Allow me to check if it was posted already. Congratulations for the following audience: Rexy942, Ademola, Kimura, Ludo Vicus, and Flamsy. Congratulations to all the winners. Have a great uh, day and the rest of the week. Congratulations. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Genesis.